Greek mythology retellings and adaptations are everywhere. No sooner is one published than another follows hot on its heels. Even as an avid reader, I can hardly keep up. From Percy Jackson to Stone Blind, we've witnessed a 2-decade-long popularity surge in these books. So the question is, why has ancient mythology found such a modern audience? So let's dive in, shall we? Because there's a whole host of reasons why I think this is the case, and one in particular that I think trumps them all, that I'm saving till last. I freaking love Greek mythology. I mean love. So this video might get a little gushy. I warn you in advance. Now, one of the things that comes to mind when I think of Greek myths being popular right now is the themes that are present in pretty much every single Greek myth. Love, heroism, betrayal, tragedy, family, honor, justice. These are all emotions and experiences that transcend the boundaries of time and culture. They're as relevant now as they were 1,000 years ago. The beauty of these stories is that they're more than just gods and monsters. They tap into aspects of human life. Take love as an example. It's the cornerstone of human existence, something that's intrinsic to us. Look at the story of Eros and Psyche, a tale of love conquering all odds. Not unlike many popular modern-day romances, or the tragic love of Orpheus and Eurydice, where love is portrayed in all its beauty and heartache. Heroism is another key theme in Greek mythology. We often associate heroism with the likes of Heracles or Perseus, characters who go on epic quests and confront monsters. But it's more than just physical feats and bravery. It's about moral choices, resilience, and the ability to endure even against the odds. Family is another major theme. The Greek gods, despite their divine nature, were depicted as a big, dysfunctional family with quarrels, alliances, and rivalries. These themes act as a bridge between the ancient myth and us now, which I think is pretty cool. Another aspect that I particularly really enjoy about Greek mythology is in the characterization. Greek gods aren't displayed as some distant, omnipotent entity. Instead, they're given characteristics and human-like flaws. In fact, they have human-like emotions and are driven by things like love, betrayal, jealousy, hatred, all things that are very human. Take Zeus, the king of the gods. Despite his divine status and incredible power, he's far from perfect. Zeus is known for his quick temper, his impulsive nature, and his unfaithfulness to his wife, Hera. His numerous affairs and their subsequent fallouts are the stuff of many a Greek myth. The flawed depiction makes Zeus a complex and multidimensional character. Similarly, in Greek mythology, we see Athena, the goddess of wisdom, portrayed as a strategic, level-headed, and wise entity. However, even she can be vindictive and petty, punishing Arachne for her hubris of claiming to be a better weaver. We see this kind of characterization in modern books as well. President Snow, the primary antagonist of the Hunger Games, could be compared to the figure of King Minos in Greek mythology. Just as Minos used the terrifying Minotaur and a complicated labyrinth to inspire fear and maintain control, Snow uses the Hunger Games, a deadly arena, to instill fear and assert control over the districts of Panem. The parallels between modern characters and those in ancient myth are no coincidence. Contemporary authors, whether consciously or subconsciously, tend to tap into these archetypal characters that have stood the test of time. Aside from themes and characters, Greek myths, kind of like fairy tales, also contain a lot of cautionary tales. These stories often contain warnings against pride, recklessness, and other things that are still applicable today. Let's take the story of Icarus as an example. Icarus was the son of Daedalus, a skilled craftsman who created a pair of wings made of feathers and wax for his son to escape from the island of Crete. Despite his father's warnings, Icarus, in his youth, flew too close to the sun. The heat melted the wax, causing Icarus to fall into the sea and drown. This ancient tale serves as a reminder and a warning about overstepping our bounds and disregarding wise counsel. Then there's the tale of King Midas, a rich king who loved gold above all else. Granted a wish by Dionysus, the god of wine, he foolishly wished for everything he touched to turn into gold. At first, Midas was overjoyed with his new power. However, his joy turned to despair when he found he could no longer eat or drink, as his food and wine turned to gold the moment he touched them. Even his beloved daughter was turned into a gold statue when he embraced her. King Midas' story is a wise reminder about the power of greed and be careful what you wish for. When brought back to life today, these stories are given more depth. For example, in Ariadne by Jennifer Saint, Daedalus is a pivotal character that has a reason for putting his son in danger. We get to see more of that. We get to go into detail and understand his feelings, thoughts, and the actions behind what he chooses to do. But the real reason why I think retellings are more popular than ever is because they're literally retelling a story that wasn't meant for everybody to read, most notably women. The rise in retellings from different perspectives, most notably feminist retellings, has been a trend over recent years. These adaptations critically examine and challenge the often misogynistic narratives in original myths, providing empowering narratives about female characters instead. So why is this important? Well, if you look at the traditional Greek myths, female characters are often sidelined, victimized, or defined solely by their relationships with male characters. Feminist retellings question this status quo. They're not just about reversing gender dynamics. Instead, they focus on celebrating the complexity, strength, resilience, and diversity of female experiences. Let's take Circe by Madeline Miller as an example. In the original myths, Circe was a witch known for turning Odysseus' men into pigs. But in Miller's novel, Circe is a deeply complex character, navigating her existence in a world dominated by powerful and often dangerous men. She faces betrayals, love, motherhood, and stands up against the wrath of the gods. This retelling shifts the narrative from Circe being a mere side character to a protagonist who defines her own destiny. Pat Barker's The Silence of the Girls presents Trojan War from the women's perspective. Through this retelling, we get a glimpse of the overlooked experiences of women amidst war and chaos, presenting a stark contrast to the traditional war narratives that glorify heroism at the expense of others' suffering. Stone Blind reinterprets the myth of Medusa, a woman cursed with the gaze that turns people to stone. Rather than presenting Medusa as a monstrous figure, Stone Blind delves into her psyche, depicting her as a complex individual dealing with her trauma and newfound power. This reshaping of Medusa's narrative gives readers more from her character beyond her usual portrayal as a monster. Clytemnestra by Costanza Cassati takes us back to ancient Greece with the narrative centered around Clytemnestra, the wife of King Agamemnon. Clytemnestra is often vilified in Greek mythology for killing her husband upon his return from the Trojan War. But Cassati's novel humanizes Clytemnestra, showing her as a woman pushed to the brink by betrayal and loss. Her actions are put into context, allowing readers to understand the motivations behind her infamous deed. This retelling paints a more nuanced picture of Clytemnestra, turning her from a villain into a complex woman. These retellings don't just challenge the traditional narratives and present a more diverse representation of these characters, they also initial crucial conversations about gender, power, and equality. By giving voice to the marginalized and overlooked characters in these ancient tales, these authors are reshaping our understanding of Greek mythology, making it more inclusive and relevant than ever. And that's why I think Greek mythology is just as popular as it ever was. But I would love to know from you, what do you think makes Greek mythology so wonderful? Leave me a comment. And if you like this video and want another like it, check out the video on screen right now. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.